This episode is brought to you by Dr. T's Primary Care for Men. Get back your pride. Call them 956-441-2188.
When I first put the needle on that record, and I heard that back in 1980, it kind of it was like, where did that come from?
What is the origin?
And then on vinyl.
And vinyl is so rich. Did you always have headphones on?
Yeah, sometimes, when I didn't want to have my mom bang on the door, screaming, "Bájale ese mugrero!"
Or give it a super kick.
Yeah, or give it a super kick. This mom came in and she had her chancla in her hand, that's it.
Foreign object. Oh!
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Hispanic moms are probably the very first ones to have come up with the foreign object.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I think so.
Because you think that they're empty-handed, and then they raise their hand like, oh, there's a weapon.
Yeah.
Well, and then you start doing this. Whoa.
Yeah.
Time out.
And
Let's
then
talk about this.
Yeah, and then she'll grab you and she'll poke your forehead and you'll start bleeding, and then she'll stick it back in her grandma panties.
But first you do this.
Yeah.
You extend the hand.
Or you get on your knees and go,
Wait a minute. I'm sorry.
Boy, we're talking wrestling, ladies and gentlemen. We have author Vinny Berry, who wrote a book, Lanced by Chance, here with us. How you doing, Vinny? How's it going, man?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much.
How'd you like all that montage of wrestling lingo?
I was having flashbacks.
Yeah. We just wanted to make let you know that you're not coming into a foreign type of program where you've got a couple of nerds that don't know anything about wrestling. Wait a second. Wrestling is comprised of mainly nerds.
Yeah,
right?
so
yeah, okay.
We are the biggest wrestling nerds.
Yeah, okay.
I
yeah.
mean, and by the way, what we just did, we do that every day.
Yeah.
We don't do it for you. That's like a regular part of our shtick.
Yeah, that's what we do. So, Vinny, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
I'm doing really good. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about you, man. You're, besides being an author, I know I've seen you cage side at the STFC MMA Mixed Martial Arts fights back when we used to have events.
That's right.
And you were part of a website, I think, that was reporting or taking pictures or doing some. You've always been in the journalistic type of position, right?
Right. Well, my background is news, so I've been a news photographer for about 19 years. Mm-hmm. And when I moved down here to the Valley, met some people who covered the mixed martial arts and boxing down here locally, and I started running around with them, and we put them on websites, and probably did that for about 4 or 5 years down here.
Where are you originally from, man?
North Texas, Louisville.
Louisville, is that close to? That's by Dallas.
Yes.
Didn't they have like a football team in the state championships a while back? I mean, I've seen them they're like 5A or 4A, something like that.
It's Louisville's. They've won some state championships. Yeah. It's been a while.
It's LEWISVILLE, right?
Yes.
Louisville, right?
Right.
Yeah, I've seen them because I like to watch on what do you call it? The sports channels, the Southwest sports channels.
Sure.
The Fox Southwest, and they show those high school championship games, and I love to watch them because they're as exciting as the NFL, man.
Oh man,
and college, and then I remember seeing Louisville in there. Those North Texas teams are usually pretty damn good, right?
Oh yeah, they've had they've had their times where they had their run of titles, and then there's other cities up there too. That
Stephensville. There was another one. Where all the Dallas Cowboys live, I think it's called. Man, what was it called? But I remember seeing those kids win one of the championships as well. So what did you do in Louisville? Did you grow up in Louisville? You went to school there?
I did. I moved there when I was about 10 years old, and that was about 1979, 1980.
And you were from where did you move to Louisville? Where you at before that? Where were you born? Where's your original?
Okay, so I was born in Baltimore.
Okay.
But my parents are from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And my dad was he was in the Navy. He studied electronics. He worked for IBM back in the 60s, right?
Yeah.
And worked in computers and stuff like that. And so he just moved around, worked in Washington, D.C., ended up working in Pittsburgh, and worked in California. So we moved a lot when I was young. And then his work brought us down to Texas. And we just figured we'd probably be moving in another year, and we just never left. And for this story, it's important to say that Louisville is about 10 miles from where the Von Erichs grew up in Lake Dallas.
So no wonder you kind of grew up in that era. I mean, if you were there in 1980, I mean, that's when that whole shebang was barely starting out, right?
Right.
Chaz, you remember those days, don't you?
They were really, and it's a phenomenal place you lived in as that whole explosion was about to happen. How were you introduced to World Class and the Von Erichs? Was it a friend? Was you just watching TV? What happened?
Well, on the weekends, you'd be hanging out with the kids in the neighborhood, just riding bikes and doing whatever, right? Playing basketball or shooting hoops. And at a certain time, people would be running home. Hey, I got to go home. And they were going home to watch wrestling. And I didn't know, I knew what wrestling was, but I wasn't into it, right? And at that time, it was on Saturday evening, like around 5 or 6 or something like that. But it ended up moving to Sunday morning, and that was on the Christian Broadcasting Network. They had phenomenal numbers. Back in 82, 83, they're getting like 100,000 viewers a week on this show. It's on the Christian Broadcasting Network, and I just started. I saw the Von Erichs. I saw King Kong Bundy still had hair at that time. It was just exciting stuff.
Man, well, we definitely hate you for that because you got to live that wonderful life because we were only able to be captivated by it through television down here in South Texas. I mean, to be able to be there at the Sportatorium, and check out some of the most amazing wrestling talent Texas ever had to offer. And not just Texas, but throughout the United States. I was just listening to a shoot interview with Hacksaw Duggan, who came from the Northeast and went to SMU and then left SMU and went to try out for the Atlanta Falcons, and he did some NFL things. But when he was in SMU and back in the Northeast, he was one of the best high school wrestlers. I mean, he was going to wrestle for the state championship. He met Fritz Von Erich while he was in SMU, and Fritz offered him a gig. Hey, you want to be wrestling? And he said, no, I want NFL. So he went to the NFL, and then he ended up hurting his knees and came back to the NFL. So he's not the only wrestler that – there's also that book with Cactus Jack McFoley.
That's right.
Who did a long stint living out of his car.
That's right.
In the Dallas area. In his book, he writes about that as well. And, eating canned food and, living out of his car, making $6, $7, $8. And then he ends up in Dallas with the Von Erichs, and that's pretty much where his persona was, kind of molded, right? Yeah,
I remember when he came in. When he came in, I was just like transitioning out of high school and, doing other things. I kind of stopped watching wrestling around that era when he came in. It started changing a lot. But you got to remember, a lot of stuff happened. And it talks about in the book, too, is like, after Gino died, you got David died, and then Gino died, and then Mike died, and a lot of people that were into wrestling at that time in that territory were like brokenhearted,
Yeah.
Just and
they were big stars.
Oh, they were huge.
Now, one thing I want to say about your book, which is called Lance by Chance.
Wrestling as a Von Erich.
Wrestling as a Von Erich. It's a phenomenal book. And one thing I want to say about the book, which, I think is a rarity today, everything that is mentioned in this book, almost all of it you can find on YouTube. Lance talks about wrestling Abdullah the Butcher. You can find that match because he talked about Puerto Rico.
Sure.
You can find that match. And this is a really phenomenal book. And did you know that a lot of what was in this book was already on YouTube, or was that just a coincidence, or how did that happen?
Well, I knew it. I knew it was, but there was a lot of stuff that that wasn't, right? So I worked with what I had, and then I would talk to Lance, and he would talk to me about those matches, and so I was able to get the details from the YouTube, from the videos that were available to me.
Talk about the origin. How did you even come across this idea of interviewing Lance to write Lance by chance? How did you meet him? How did that happen? What's the origin of this book?
Sure. So after I stopped writing for MMA and boxing down here, I don't know how long it was, maybe several months or maybe 9 months. I can't remember really what the time frame was from the time that I stopped writing for MMA, because I was working solely for Jeff Benogli there for a while for Hero Fighting Championships.
Yeah.
When he closed his promotion, I wasn't writing, but I had this, since I've been already writing for about 4 or 5 years straight. Now I'm talking a daily grind, right? And I missed it. And I told my wife, I said, wow, I really, really, I miss writing, and I gotta find something to do. And so she was like, look, just start your own website, write whatever you want to write. But, because all this time I was writing for somebody else, working for somebody else, kind of sitting in the back seat, but not driving the car, And so I decided, okay, I'm going to start my own website. It's going to be professional wrestling. I had a couple wrestling contacts. I just started calling them. They get me in contact with somebody else. Before you know it, I was meeting somebody else. And I was talking to James Beard, who is a longtime referee, and also he worked in World Class after Lance did. He's a referee that I was talking to. I was writing a story on him, and I asked him, or Lance came up in the conversation, and we started talking about Lance, and he was just always one of those characters to me that I was just very curious about. He's like a lot of question marks, like what happened with all that, and who was he really? Because obviously now we know he's not a Von Erich, but they brought him in, and I knew he used to wrestle up in Portland, but I don't know, all about that and everything. So,
which is Portland, Oregon, the Pacific Northwest, right?
Right, Don Owens' promotion.
Yeah, Billy Jack Haynes
and Bobby Jaggers,
Roddy Piper,
sure,
and another.
Bobby Jaggers was there, and one of the things that's great about, if you are not necessarily a fanatic of Lance, the stories they cross all the territories. This guy, he's met them all. And you're going to love the book because, I'm not a fanatic of Lance Von Erich, but he has met everyone.
Right.
What was it that attracted you to wrestling, dude? I mean, was it the characters? Was it the physicalness of it? What was it that attracted you to wrestling when you were growing up in Louisville, man?
I